Hi guys, yes, I'm back again. And finally, last but not least, we have Nate Longfellow. I'm really a little extra thrilled and excited because of the fact, so people who don't know, I came from Wells Fargo before coming to Tavant. I worked for the R&D, the innovation side. And while I was working last year, I did hear the name Nate Longfellow maybe like 15, 20 times to work on the home lending group. So Nate, thank you so much for joining. Just making sure I see you, but I don't see you so far. So if you want to turn on the video, our audience can look or get a view of you. So before I do a full intro, Nate is a part of he heads the digital product strategy for the home lending group. But I need to borrow Ritesh, my friend from Tavant. Ritesh will go through a little more detailed, elaborative introduction of Nate. Ritesh, can you hear me? Do you want to talk about?
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay,
you hear me,
thank
David?
you. Yes, I can. Yeah, Nate, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear everyone fine. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can see you as well. Thank you, Nate. Thank you for joining.
Hey. Wow, it's been an exciting conversation, right? Hey everyone, my name is Ritesh Jhavar, and I'm a director in Tavant's fintech practice. It is my honor to introduce my industry colleague, good friend, and mentor, Nathan Longfellow. Nate, as he's popularly called, is a beacon of our industry. Nate is currently head of digital product strategy and change delivery at Wells Fargo. A self-starter who has worn many hats in the industry, has worked at some of the largest lenders, such as GMAC, Ocwen, Ditech, Quicken, and now Wells Fargo. He's also held some leadership roles at notable service providers such as PwC and Cognizant. Born and raised in SoCal, having lived in Dallas for a long time and now at Charlotte, Nate is a true son of the soil. I'm fortunate to have directly worked with you. Thank you, Nate. It is our pleasure to be talking to you today at T5. Over to you, Debbie and Nate.
Thank you, Ritesh.
Thank you, Ritesh.
How do you feel, Nate? Did you overall today's experience, the conference so far? Some thoughts?
Well, I unfortunately couldn't join in the whole conference, but I got to see Sonu's comments, and I think they were fantastic and spot on. I think there's just so much of us in this industry, especially the folks that kind of dance between technology and in the business and more firmly planted in technology, are really, I think, headed and thinking the right way. And that's really about the customer at the center of everything and how we think and how we design great solutions. So I thought it was great, and appreciate the opportunity to talk to you more.
Thank you, for sure. So there are a couple of questions when I definitely came across heard that you would be joining, and then a lot of our internal folks, we were super excited to kind of ask you the basic questions, which we are all thinking through is, we know that the mortgage industry is rapidly complex and it's changing every time, whether it's like consumers or even lenders. So a lot of complexity can be rooted, let's say, from documentation perspective, like tons of paperwork. So what do you think technology so far, or currently at the current scenario, is handling to reduce such complexities?
Yeah, it's a really great question, and honestly, it's the heart of why we still have a cost to originate and as an industry average that is pretty heavily through the roof, right? Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of, I think, every lender, bank, partner out there is, I think, very focused on the problem. How they solve for it is really kind of the special opportunity for us all, regardless of what spectrum you're in as far as small, big, non-bank, and so on. But it really is about creating a competency around being truly data-driven. And I know that's like a master of the obvious statement. I think what really the folks that are going to win in the years ahead and hopefully quarters ahead are going to be the folks that really understand that partners are right, partners out there to create great capabilities that really allow us to truly make amazing experiences and drive decisions through data. And so there's a lot of things we're doing as an industry that I think are very helpful to that. I think that the part of that that's a little bit of a miss in how we leverage data is I still think fundamentally as an industry, we are still looking at our process, regardless of the really fantastic technology that's out there with Rocket Mortgage and Blend and Wistify and all of the other partners that are out there that have created some really great engagement, and Tavant for that matter as well. We've created some really great customer engagement capabilities there. I think the challenge that we still have in front of us is we are still in the mindset of an application, processing, and underwriting experience. And we've put great technology around that experience. And I think Sona said it earlier, transformation is really not just about technology or putting technology on something that on an existing experience. It's really about new ways of thinking, new ways of doing business. It includes people, process, and technology. And that really resonates really heavily with me as well. And I think when we start to think about that in that context, we really do create a process. We want to create an experience that kind of throws out the old and thinks of it as a single experience where we are applying, processing, and underwriting, and maybe even closing, all in the same experience. And to really do that well, you really have to solve the data aspects of it. You have to have a massive control over the data. I know some folks, I know Ritesh from a past life has heard me say things like this before. You can't automate anything without data and context and really deep understanding of that data and a quality of that data. If we don't have high quality data, if we can't appreciate the quality data, we can't automate anything. So I think those are sort of the fundamentals that are out there that we're all looking to solve for. And I think that's the future. I think the future is very bright for us there. I think there's been some really great strides in the last few years too, to really, I think, propel us in this direction. Still a lot of things out in front of us to conquer, but I think we're in a really good place.
Great. Yeah, that's a great answer. Thank you for that. You talked about data, and then if we talk about data, we have to use the word AI, talk about AI and ML. So can you just say a little more about what we've talked a lot about AI, as I've mentioned today. So what role do you see AI has been playing so far in the Wells Fargo Home Lending Group, and what are your thoughts and the next vision that you have, that you're carrying or your group is carrying on the AI side?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I think AI definitely has its place in today in the experience in our customers' engagement. I think some of the problems that are in front of us are AI is unnecessary, right? I think the decisions along the mortgage process are fairly binary, and at the moment, most of us sell our loans to very defined investors that have very defined documentation and requirements as such. So, there isn't a need necessarily to provide AI on top of those decisions to really make sure we can create loans that are very fungible in the secondary market. I think it's lower level technology is really needed. Where I see AI is and more machine learning as well, is really behind the scenes and with the customer. How do we give the customer the right offer, the right product, the right engagement at the right time, and when and where they want to connect? I think those are really places where we don't know enough about our customer. We can never know enough about our customer, but we can leverage AI to solve for that by using some higher level intelligence to really make our best educated guess on those types of things. So I think those are really good examples. Other ones are on how we remediate solutions. If we really switch to, or grow to more of a data-driven process, it's never going to be perfect. And let's say we get to a point where we solve for it at a very high level from an automation perspective, that's great. There's still going to be exceptions. There's still going to be remediations. There's still going to be things to do. And I think machine learning is a really good place in that. I know it's not exactly the question about AI, but I think it's very adjacent to that topic, where those types of capabilities, I think, are very helpful in remediating issues. If you've remediated an issue the same way over and over and over again, why don't we leverage machine learning to automate the remediation of those types of issues and steps and those types of things? So I see it as being a really big tool in the toolbox for how we make decisions in the future, but more as a complement, not as a core. But most importantly, I think the best way for us to leverage it today is just in providing our customers the right content, engagement capabilities when and where they want. I think that's a really good opportunity that's right in front of us.
Sure. And I think the next question, before I forget, you talked about customers, and I know for the fact working for Wells, they used to a huge proponent of customers being the biggest competitive advantage. So looking into the customer perspective, what their expectations are from the whole, the home buying and this whole digital journey of the lending side. Now everything is by the click of a mouse, like because of Amazon. We want something, we just order it online and we get it at our doorstep. How is Wells Fargo Lending trying to maybe replicate such an seamless initiative for a customer to maybe exceed and meet and exceed their expectations?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And you mentioned companies like Amazon. It's typical types of, really massive, innovating, and customer-centric organizations. And I've said this before, and I'll continue to say it, because I think there's a subtlety with companies like, Apple and Amazon and everything, and the names go on, Google and so on. And in my belief system, doesn't mean I'm right, but I believe that their innovation is a byproduct. Their innovation is a byproduct of their keen understanding and appreciation of the customer. And that's something that I try to evangelize more and more again. They don't have, in my belief system, I don't believe they just happen to be really innovative and then apply the innovation. I think they're disciplined and really appreciate the customer at the center of everything. And if you really take that far enough, you'll really create great innovative solutions that provide really great value to the customer. So I always think of those kind of companies as innovation as their secondary skill, because it's sort of a byproduct of their primary skill, which is really, really deep understanding of the customer. And that is something that Mike Weinbach, our new leader, Christy Furco, in home lending is really keen on. I think everyone says those things. I think everyone says, we love the customer's at the center of everything. I think it's about the behaviors. It's how we act as leaders. It's how we engage with our team members. It's the culture we build around us that I think will really make that move forward. But I think there probably couldn't be a more of a focus from the leadership within Wells Fargo on the customer. For many, many reasons. We really want to do no harm to our customer. We want to do anything we can to protect them. We want to do anything we can to help them, especially in times of need and times of hardship that they have. So I think we already have a really good foundational culture when it comes to the customer. I think the fun part of this for us and the journey that we're on now is taking that passion we have for the customer and leveraging it like those companies that you mentioned, leveraging it as the catalyst and tool, if you will, to really create great innovation and create great experiences. And that doesn't mean that we have to build everything. We have really great partners like Tavant, partners like others that we work with, where we can kind of pull the best of breed from out there and work together to create really great experiences for our customer. But there's no doubt in our culture and what we're continuing to build, if the customer is not at the center of everything, then you'll just be the same old, and I think you'll be left behind big time. So.
Absolutely. And also I want to mention, since you talked about customers, our technology partners are also another kind of customer. So what do you think about the role of innovation and technology partner, or even vendor play within Wells Fargo?
I'm sorry, you kind of broke up there, the play of innovation and.
So can you talk a little bit about the role of innovation and technology partners and vendor play within the company, within Wells Fargo?
Yeah. So one of the things that we're really pushing harder on at Wells Fargo and really growing, I think, a stronger discipline and focus on is just what we refer to as test and learn. And I think when you become a large organization that serves, tens of millions of customers, it's very easy, I would say, to get caught in the cycles of tell me what to build and we'll go build it, and then we go and release something and we move on to the next thing, if you will. Mm-hmm. And I think what folks like Mike Weinbach and Christy Furco and others are kind of evangelizing more and helping us, build a different culture around that, or I guess I would say complement our existing culture that's very customer centric, is to really have a test and learn mindset. And that starts with culture. That doesn't start with processes. That starts with, basic design thinking principles. Let's first understand a problem before we try to solve for it. And then as we understand it and we hypothesize the solutions for us, let's go, quickly test and learn as best we can. And then, you've heard these things before, fail fast and so on. And from that, in my view, that's where great innovation happens. You have to have a problem that you're looking to solve or value that you're looking to create for your customer. And you have to have the license to fail. You have the license to try. You have the license to do something different and something bold. And I think we have that with, the great thing is we get that guidance and leadership from our Wells Fargo leaders, which is really, really great. And I think that sets a really great foundation for innovation. Because otherwise, if you think about what innovation really is, it is just that. It's about how do I provide really greater value for our customer or your organization, which may include new ways of doing business and really being unconstrained in how you think about it. And when you create a culture where you're empowering people to be part of that, and you're empowering them to, I hate to use the word mistakes, but to have an idea and have it not quite end out the way you expected it to, that's where great innovation happens, is testing and learning and going through that. And that's a challenge for a lot of organizations to embrace that, especially in this industry. We're a very binary industry. You're either good or you're bad, you pass or you fail. And I think, building cultures that think differently is really important to us.
Sure. And I think my second last question is, before I open up for questions to the audience, I know because of the pandemic, it's a very cliche question, which I guess we tend to ask because of this current, suppressed pandemic situation. How is your team or has been responded to these changes within the Wells Fargo home lending side? Maybe how did you shift the process and operations to continue to serve customers in an environment, with things like inspection and appraisals, a lot of paperwork were happening before versus now?
Yeah, no. So it was a great question, and I was very surprised. I'll be honest with you on how well the size and scale of our firm, our ability to kind of respond very quickly and mobilize very quickly around COVID. And what I mean by that is taking tens of thousands of resources and team members and allowing them to work remotely and serve our customers in very different places. And I think those are things that we stood up in a matter of weeks, if not less. And it was really, really, I think, a proud moment, I think, for all of us, and our ability to really never lose sight of the customer and run as fast as we can to help them in their time of need. And same thing, mobilizing some digital capabilities to allow them to self-service and those types of things. I think those were really, great proud moments for us on our ability to mobilize around it quickly. It has changed, and I think I saw a comment when I was just joining in from somebody about agile development and remote situations, and I found that they had a comment that I personally come from the world of, I like human interaction. I like face-to-face interaction. I like to grab a whiteboard, and I'm sure some folks on the phone know that. Grab a whiteboard and let's have a discussion. Let's go draw this stuff out, and let's really go think about it and have that face-to-face collaboration. And we, in the current climate we're in, we don't have that luxury. But using some of the standard available collaboration tools, it was really amazing how quickly we moved to a more to a remote, virtual, big room planning, agile scrum. The whole 9 yards, the whole thing has been virtual ever since COVID started. And honestly, our throughput, our velocity, everything has been better. Now, again, there's so many, just like in the test and learn environment, there's so many variables that might play into that. But it's been, I think, there's only what I would refer to as a success, in the sense that taking something that's been so challenging for us organizationally as well as our customer, and being able to continue on, and I would say at least the same level of value that we've driven for the customer, and our same level of expediency and urgency. But I would even argue that we're probably measurably even better, which part of that, again, like I said, a lot of variables. Part of it is the culture of knowing the customers in need, and us kind of rallying around it, making a difference. So.
Sure. Oh, thank you. Oh, by the way, we do have a question, and I see it's from our CTO, Manish Arya. Thanks, Manish, for posting your question. And I'm going to read it out to you, Nate. It says, Nate, you're innovating on both machine learning based initiatives and as well as transaction systems, whether better workflow, more digital data, or more automation. What do you think about running these as integrated initiatives? And if you have a few examples that you can share with the team.
How to leverage things like machine learning and AI and those types of things as an integrated solutions, if you will, from a delivery perspective?
Correct.
Yeah. Well, so we actually have a very similar mindset. There are our kind of the way we're organized, if you will, is a little bit. I could say different. Maybe it's the same as others out there, but we don't necessarily think of those types of solutions as one-off solutions that are applied in places where folks might have interest or applicability. We think of those as what I would call enabling capabilities, more horizontal. So that's how we organize. So we have an enabling technology product strategy organization that is responsible for things like automation, our data, things like AI, and we have a separate construct for RPA, but and so it becomes an embedded part of what we are, because it is supporting all of our products. It is supporting all of our customer experiences from beginning to end, and their level of engagement, if you will, is at the product level. And that's how we're how we're primarily organized. We organize by products and not necessarily by a business function, if you will. Even though there's a close overlap to it, it's very different when you take a product view.
Got it. Cool. And I think the last question that I have from my end before I'm going to check in case there's anybody else posted questions is, Nate, what are your most aggressive, ambitious goals for the housing finance industry, if you can say something?
What are our goals as far as, Wells Fargo goes, as far as it goes? Well, we have ambitious goals with regards to quite simply being tier one. We want to be, and that starts with the customer. We want to provide tier one experiences for our customers, and that's all that really matters to us. We think, and I come from the belief system as well, that if you do that well, all the rest comes with it. And so I think that's really what's ambitious for us, and that starts with getting back to some of the comments earlier. We want to be able to engage with our customers when and where they want, provide them the value that they expect, predictively and preventatively on the servicing side. And I think just like a lot of lenders and banks out there, we want to be a partner. We want to be a partner for our customers' financial life experience. And so when we look at the customer at the center of everything, and you look at being a partner of their financial life experience, it opens up a whole world of possibilities and the value that we can generate with our customers. I think we're very fortunate. We have a community of interest. We have 30-some-odd million banking customers. We have 8 million mortgages. For us, it's about seizing that community of interest and really serving that customer base well, giving them fantastic experiences, and really making our Wells Fargo be a very proud name in the future. So.
For sure, and I know for the fact I always see commercials every time I drive by the Bay Bridge, huge in community service, right? Like the Feed for America campaign. I remember I used to be a part of that when I was working for the company. So. Fun fact about you, Nate, if you can share, since you're your closing note speaker, what are you doing these days? Because you're home, you don't have to travel, you go to the office. I know you're probably like busy and loaded with emails, but what keeps you busy and and fun and entertained in these pandemic times?
Well, I've been relocating over the pandemic, slowly and painfully.
Oh my God!
But I've been that's been fun. I've moved from Dallas area to Charlotte. I just moved to Charlotte about 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
So because of my son, and he's finishing up high school and he's now going to Clemson, because of COVID, it turned into this longer, graduated move where we sold our house, lived in temporary housing in Dallas for about 3 months. Now we're living in temporary housing in Charlotte. That's where I'm at right now, because we're building the house out in Charlotte. So we'll be settled in hopefully December, January timeframe. But that's what's been keeping me busy is entertaining my son during COVID and making sure his last summer before college is a fun one, and then sending him off while me and my wife go and start our next journey with Charlotte.